You're listening to the Australian Water Association podcast series. My name is Jo Taranto, and joining me is Matt Schnelle, a graduate engineer at Sydney Water, and we're discussing critical infrastructure resilience for Sydney's water supply. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, Jo.
Now, Matt, you're a graduate engineer. You've been with Sydney Water for a couple of years now, only 1 year as an undergraduate. How does it feel to be working on a project that's dealing with the resilience of infrastructure into nearly 80 years' time?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting being thrown right in the deep end with this one. So I'm a chemical engineer, mainly focusing on numbers, facts, figures, data, models. And my time with Sydney Water, I've largely been in the operations space. So coming into the strategy team to work on this piece of work, critical infrastructure resilience in Sydney's water supply has been a massive shift and a big jump straight into the deep end. But it's been great, learning a lot.
So tell me what the challenge is for Sydney.
So Sydney's a growing city. We all know that. Currently, Sydney Water is servicing 5 million customers across Sydney, the Illawarra and the Blue Mountains. In the next 80 years, we'll have double the amount of customers. So there'll be 10 million people receiving water services across the Sydney region, so Sydney, the Illawarra and the Blue Mountains. That's a massive challenge for any organisation to be able to meet that challenge of supplying safe water and secure water for customers' needs in the future.
So what do you mean when you talk about critical infrastructure resilience?
So critical infrastructure resilience is making sure that we have the water supply systems that are able to resist the shocks and stresses of threats to safe and secure supply in the future. So it's about making sure that we design our systems, we build our systems, we operate our systems in a resilient way to reduce the vulnerability of customers to water supply outages. So we've developed an infrastructure resilience framework. The team I've been working in has been working very hard on this. The framework is all about making sure the water supply infrastructure is as resilient as possible. So the framework has got 5 components. The first is reliability. It's about making sure that we are able to reliably supply water products of the right quality, so potable drinking water for drinking water needs, potentially lower grades of water for irrigation and other uses, in the right amounts at the right time when customers need it. The second part of the framework is about resistance, so making sure that our framework is adaptable, so making sure that our water supply system is adaptable, flexible and resistant to some of those short-term shocks such as power outages, algal blooms in catchments, that sort of thing, and longer-term stresses such as variable catchment surface water inflows, increasing climate volatility. The third component of the 5 is redundancy, so making sure that our system has enough redundancy to reduce the chance of outages to customers. So redundancy in water storage, redundancy in power, and redundancy in other resources such as chemicals to treat the water. Response is the 4th part of the framework, so it's ensuring that our system is resilient enough to be able to respond to demand. So being able to meet changing usage patterns such as higher peak loads during heat waves and reducing demands on the system during times such as drought. And the 5th section of the framework is recovery. So it's ensuring that we have the ability to rapidly recover essential water services for public health, sanitation and hygiene in the event of a system failure.
And where would you hope that this framework leads you next?
So we're hoping to use the framework to develop and assess potential future infrastructure supply scenarios for the city. And we would use the framework to assess this in future investment, not just based on cost, not just based on yield, but based on the resilience of the system to the threats identified to the system.
And what would you say to other organisations who might be looking at the resilience of their critical infrastructure. How important is it to examine the whole of your system?
Yeah, so looking at the system, look at the system from the catchment right through to the customer. A lot of the threats could impact multiple parts of the delivery model to get water to customers. So it's important to approach this from a system-wide perspective, identify the threats, and then identify how you can increase your resilience of your system in a holistic way, so in a system-wide way. So that would be a very beneficial way in which you could apply something such as our infrastructure resilience framework with the 5 components to all parts of your system to make sure that the supply you can continue to supply safe and secure water for customers.
So graduate engineer, saving the world with resilient systems. Thanks so much for talking with us today. Been talking with Matt Schnelle, graduate engineer at Sydney Water.
Thanks, Jo.